Let's talk about those details that men notice the first with women and what they find the most attractive. Basically, those little small details that they pay attention the first when they meet a woman for the first time. I think it's good for you to be aware of these things so that you can make sure that your details are on point. Welcome back to my channel, my dear elegant ladies. For those of you who are new, my name is Anna and I run an online finishing school where I teach women about high society and elegance. Make sure to visit schoolofaffluence.com to start your transformation today. For this video, I have done my research. I have asked around my affluent male friends. I mean, we know what we usually like to look for when we see men for the first time, but it's a little bit different for men, of course, because they're different. So let's jump straight into number one. And it doesn't necessarily mean that this is the number one thing that they look for, but I know that the smile is incredibly important to men, like really important. It's something that makes them connect with you and makes them feel like you add this positive value to their life. Of course, there are some men who are into more complicated ladies who perhaps don't smile very often, but majority of affluent men do find a beautiful smile incredibly attractive, and sometimes the girl doesn't have to be very attractive if she has an attractive smile. I hope that makes sense. So for those who do not know, I'm actually a certified matchmaker. I know that in media they keep calling me this billionaire matchmaker, which is actually not true. I didn't end up working with matchmaking in the end, just a little bit as a side thing, but that's not something that I do today. But I did get certified and I did the training to become a matchmaker, and one of the things that we got trained in was, of course, online dating and online dating profiles. And that's something I'm definitely going to teach you more about in the future. But there was one thing that was incredibly important when it comes to online dating is what pictures you have on there. And one of the crucial pictures a lady must have in her online dating profile, that is a picture with her smile. That's how important it is for men, because a smile really sells. Like, a smile can really get a man easily hooked if you do it naturally, if you have a beautiful smile, if you also have beautiful teeth on top of that. Like, these type of things men really get hooked on. Now, evolutionary psychology does speak about things that men notice the first in women. I'm talking about long, healthy, thick hair. So I, unfortunately, do not belong to the category of women who have naturally long and thick hair. I'm the opposite. I have very fine hair that breaks, so, I have to wear extensions. Extensions can be a substitute, if done well, if styled correctly, then yes, you can fake it till you make it, but those who really have this naturally, they tend to just have a little bit better advantage in this department, because long, healthy hair signals health. That's why men love it. That's why their subconscious go on alert mode when they see beautiful hair on a woman. And beautiful hair has to be shiny, it has to have a bounce, it has to be thick, luscious. If you are blessed, make use of it. It's going to score you so many points, even though perhaps long, thick hair can be a little bit frustrating to maneuver at times, but you know what? It's going to be worth it. Majority of men instinctively prefer longer hair on women as long as it's not longer than, elbow length, because then it's a little bit too long. But if you are somebody who is like me, who is not blessed, make sure to either, invest in a hairstyle that really works for you, and perhaps good hair extensions if you need. Now let's continue with some evolutionary psychology. We need to speak about the skin. And the reason why skin is important is because of the same reason as with the hair. Skin has to be healthy looking, skin has to be acne-free, damage-free somehow. Of course, we are humans after all. We may have wrinkles, we may have this or the other imperfection, so we're not here to look picture perfect. And nobody wants a picture perfect woman next to them in reality. Like, no men actually want that. But we do want to look the very best as we can. And skin is really, really important to invest in. You want to have that healthy glow, because healthy glow signals good health. And for men, that signals a good mate for them to carry their offspring. That's how psychology works when it comes to how men pick their women, at least at first impression. They think about these things, their instincts push them in certain directions because it's in a way human survival instinct, right? You want to pass on your genes, and that's how you do it with the absolute healthiest partner. If you pick an unhealthy partner, or someone that looks a bit unhealthy, then of course the survival rate for your offspring is going to be lower. Don't blame it on men, don't blame it on me sharing this information with you. This is how we are built, so let's just make use of how it would benefit our the best. Improve your skin, you can actually do that. You can have full control over your skin if you really invest in it. Same goes with everything else about you. This is what I teach in my online finishing school. This is what transformation is all about. It's not only so that you have to fit into some stereotype, but it's actually for you to have the best success on your journey so that you can really achieve your goals. That's why transformation matters, and that's why I have developed this formula that I teach in my online program, because I know that you are going to have better results than without it. Ladies, before I continue with this video, of course I have to tell you about my free cheat sheet. Over 210 places where you can meet affluent men. You definitely want to have this cheat sheet if you want to save yourself both time and headache of going to the wrong places where you won't find as many potential candidates as you would if you go to the places I mentioned in the cheat sheet. Make sure to visit millionaireplaces.com and download your free cheat sheet today. Moving on to number 4, we need to speak a bit about hygiene. Okay, this can be a bit of a sensitive topic and a bit uncomfortable topic as well. I'm sure somebody in the comments will now ask me, how many times a day is it elegant to shower? Ladies, you do not go in extremes here, okay? I really do not want to advocate for any extreme thinking, but you really have to think about it. First of all, are you being lazy with your hygiene, or are you being adequate? When I did my research, and especially when I had my little one-on-one conversation with my male friends, they go on dates, they start being intimate with somebody, and they realize that even though the woman might be beautiful or she looks, good and things like that, but her hygiene might not be up to standard. And some people are much more, picky when it comes to cleanliness. Some cultures are much more picky with that. For instance, Japanese, Middle Easterns, Italians, some cultures, some countries, they're a little bit more concerned when it comes to cleanliness. So you have to also consider, who are you seeing, what is their culture, where they're from. Maybe you have to think a little bit extra upon your hygiene. I'm not trying to say that you have dirtiness with you or anything like that. I'm trying to really explain that we are not really aware of our body odor, we're not really aware of our smell from the mouth. We might not notice how fresh our skin or hair actually looks like. We might not notice some of these small little details, but especially our smells. Smells are very important. And ultimately, that's how you are going to be partnered up with a mate that really appreciates your smell. I just don't want you to be one of those ladies who you're really investing in yourself, you're doing everything perfectly fine, and then forgetting something that is so basic. Maybe, having those mints handy in your purse, because perhaps you need it, or maybe going to the hygienist to clean your teeth every 3 months instead of once a year. Maybe you should wash your hair every second day because it does start smelling otherwise, or maybe you should change your deodorant because maybe the one you're using is not efficient. I mean, there are these small things. Then of course you should shower once a day, but that's a given, I hope. But I actually still hear about some people who cheat with that. Don't cheat on showering once a day, because that's when you start smelling. Anyway, my 2 cents. But I just want to give you a last example on this topic, because I really had this proven for me once. I really still remember this occasion. So I met this woman in high society, and this was pretty much in the beginning. I think this was during my first year when I was 19. And I remember that for me, I wasn't used to high society and all that. And I remember that when I met her, there was this really, really fresh aura around her. Not only was she, of course, perfectly groomed, but it wasn't necessarily only that. I remember when leaning in to give her, kisses on the cheeks, she had this extreme fresh smell about her. And it wasn't only her perfume. Of course, you could feel a little bit of perfume. It wasn't something overpowering. It was something very subtle, but it was this aroma of freshness. It was a mix of her hair smelled so incredibly clean and fresh. Probably she had some wonderful shampoo. Then most likely she had some body lotion that smelled really nice. And then, you know, the mix of her probably body and her little smell of perfume plus the smell of her mint she had in her mouth. That whole kind of mix was just so incredibly fresh. She really inspired me since that day to always think about the details, to really try and tap into all those small little points, because in the end, it paints the overall picture that you really should take with you everywhere you go. Okay, since we are at this more superficial points, don't forget men are a little bit more visual than us women. They pay more attention to the visuals, so of course, one of the things that they're really going to pay attention to the first time they see you is of course your body. And I call it the 3 B's: butt, breast, and body, because some men are into breast, some are into butt, some will look at one thing first, maybe the other second, or some will just look at one thing. Men tend to go for women who are more of normal weight, although in some cultures, actually, more voluptuous women are preferred. But that's some cultures. I would say in just general Western world, then yes, you should definitely work on being fit and being toned and slim. Then you should definitely work on having a body that is not overweight, because you are going to achieve more success that way. If we do our research with men, this is how they think. I cannot change that. The only thing I can do for you is to say it how it is, and then you take it from there. I hope that this works as a motivation for women to stay healthy rather than see it as something that is hurting their feelings. In the end, I think we have to be realistic in what society we live in, what are the rules, and if we want to have success, we need to play cleverly by the rules. This is really a matter of preference. I really don't think women today should be thinking I have to enlarge my bust, I have to enlarge my bottom so that I can attract more men. You will only attract a specific group of men this way. Sometimes you will actually manage to hook a man who is into a totally different body type than what you have, but because you have so many other interesting qualities, he will still be hooked on you and he will have to compromise. So it's not really, set in stone with what you have going on there. I think the most important is to keep the body healthy. Then what size your bust or bottom is, or I don't know what weight you have, I think that is a bit less important. And I really don't think that you should obsess about those things too much. I think there are far more important things to first work on. And then if it's really important for you, definitely go for it. I'm here to support you, whatever you decide. But I just think that that's actually not what seems to be the most important from the research that I've made. Okay, I'm realizing that this list has been very visual, and I'm again coming to another visual point here. Now, the eyes. The eyes are very much a thing men do notice, as much as with the smile and the rest. Now, the eyes is more something that you can really use to your benefit if you want to trigger men with your mysteriousness. You have a charming, kind of Princess Diana type of eyes, then you can definitely hook a man this way. Or if you have more of Angelina Jolie cat eyes, then that will hook them in a different way. So there are many different ways and many different eyes how you can actually trigger a man with just your look. But they say the eyes is the window to the soul. Because today we've spoken a lot about basically physical things, and in my online finishing school we do cover a lot the grooming aspect, because the grooming aspect is really important. Beauty makes you look perfectly on point, just like high society women tend to present themselves. Ladies, one last thing now on my list, and actually I'm finally going to move away from all the visual things that I've listed. I do want to really vote for confidence, and I know that that's one of the things men do also instantly notice in a woman. Not necessarily, you have to be overconfident. Sometimes overconfidence can lead to a very masculine energy that might not necessarily attract the partner that you want. But there has to be some form of confidence, no matter what style of confidence. There are different styles of confidence. You can be a little bit more provocative confident. You can be a little bit more feminine confident, gracious confident. There are different variations. But the most important is that you carry yourself with confidence, because oftentimes a man will spot you for the first time, maybe when you're walking into a room, maybe you are walking around somewhere, maybe you're just standing up and holding yourself. But having that posture, that confident walk, the confident way of being comfortable with yourself and not like, becoming a little mouse or feeling like you shouldn't be there or something like that. I mean, that really puts people off. You have to just like be proud, be comfortable with yourself, and really that's a quality that men get drawn to. Well, actually not only men, people in general. People always get drawn to confident people. So ladies, it's really all about the confidence, and if you can add confidence to whatever transformation you're doing, you're going to really score it big. I can promise you that. So if you're feeling like there are some other things you want to add to the list, use the comment section below, discuss with each other, what have you heard from men saying? We don't want to rely only on what we think, we actually want to rely on facts. So if you have any facts to provide, leave them in the comment section below. And don't forget to download my free cheat sheet, Where to Meet Affluent Men. You definitely want to save yourself some time and headache by visiting millionaireplaces.com, because this cheat sheet is free of charge and it will really save you some time. Now ladies, make sure you watch my video, How to Get Noticed by Rich Men. Now I will see you in that video, ladies.